How many of you here Mission Impossible fans, like the latest with like Tom Cruise? Nobody. Okay, so can I just share with you like an awesome moment, like being the speaker on stage, is when you say something and then not one person in the room has like any interest or connection with you at all. So that's like the exact opposite of what I guess I'm supposed to be going for up here. Anywho, I'll get you in a minute, hang on. So Mission Impossible, yeah, super fun, entertaining, right? Entertaining, but they absolutely live up to their name. I mean, these are scenarios, situations that are truly impossible to get out of. It would never happen, right? But we're still kind of rooting for the guy, and it's super entertaining. Before Mission Impossible, for me, what I grew up on watching, MacGyver. Come on, yeah. MacGyver taught me, he taught me nothing is impossible if you have a Swiss Army knife and a roll of duct tape. Nothing. You're good. Bring it. Bring it. The best was when the guys would capture them and they'd throw them like in a janitor's closet. Remember that? Dude, you're putting a kid in a candy shop. Forget about it. Take all the cleaning chemicals and supplies. Dude could blow up a city block. It was awesome. So that's what he taught me. He taught me there is no impossible situation if you have those things. And then I started thinking about it though, right? I started thinking about all the stories that we watch, like movies, like think with me, the movies that you watch, the stories that you read, the books and stuff. Almost all of them have a moment in there where something impossible happens, right? I mean, many of them have this like impossible situation that someone finds themselves in. And what do you do as the viewer, right? You're rooting for the person that they figured out, that they get out of there, right? That they make it through, because impossible situations, and we've been in them like in real life, especially the real life ones. What do they tell us? What do they mean? An impossible situation says you're done. Right? It's game over. You're stuck. You're not getting out of this. You're not moving forward. This is the end for you. And none of us want to be in that place and feel what that's like. And sadly, right, we've been there in various ways. And the truth is, the ways in the future we'll find ourselves there again. My family, we had a bit of a situation like this. It was with my wife, right? It was March of 2020, okay? This is right before COVID goes huge here in our neck of the woods. She gets sicker than she's ever been in her life. So she gets this fever that goes 11 days straight, can't get rid of it with anything. Then it takes a break, and then it comes back on the day after. So this fever nonstop. She has this cough with it. It's this hard cough that goes on for a month, around the clock, all day long, all night long. That makes sleeping difficult, in case you're wondering, yes. And the person sleeping next to you, difficult as well. There's all sorts of problems there. And if you know anything about my wife, you know she's big runner, right? She's lots of marathons, all that. She's whipped, exhausted, right? Can't go up the stairs without out of breath. So she's feeling like this, I am never getting out of this. This is my new life. This is the new me. I have a fever and I cough all day, you know? And then you throw in there, and she did this, and you've done this when you've been in situations like this as well. Then you throw in there, I'm crying out to God. I'm kind of praying to God. I'm saying, God, can you help? Can you do something here? I want to be, a wife again. I want to be a mom again. I want to like do the things that I'm, and nowhere to be. There's like no answer. Like, where'd you go? Like, there's nothing happening there. And so this is just the new normal for her. And you feel like you're never going to get out of it. Things got so bad. On day 6 of the fever, she was just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs up there. So she's laying in bed at night, a little delusional, and she starts, in her mind, an organization called Stop the Cough. Stop the Cough. It's a real thing in her head. And it's a nonprofit. Why? Nobody knows. There's no reason. It's a nonprofit. The best part, here's where it gets good. Many of you people, you had no idea. You were board members. You were involved. You were there. And there's one criteria for you to be a part of her nonprofit Stop the Cough organization. All you had to do was not cough, and then you count how many seconds go by before you cough again. And then if the number gets bigger than the last time, you can stay on the board. You're a member, you keep it. If you decrease, you're like, you cough and then count to 12, and then you like start again, you only make it to like 4 and you cough again, you're out. Hand in your card, no longer a card-carrying member. Many of you got kicked off of the board and out of the organization. Apologize for that. But that's just how it went down. This was an impossible, now that was a real life situation, like how she's feeling there with this sickness. And the reality is, the truth is, some of us are there right now. Like at this moment, you're at a place in life where you're like, my marriage is in crisis. I can't imagine getting to a better place, right? Financially, we're in crisis. I can't imagine getting right side up again, right? Maybe you're at a place where like, this addiction, I've had it for decades. I can't imagine ever breaking free from this and moving forward. Impossible. Right? For some of you, you're like, I've got like this greed thing in me where I'm always wanting more. I cannot imagine getting to a place where I have contentment and some type of peace, and I'm not wanting. I can't imagine it. I've got this anger temper thing I've had my whole life where I blow up and go crazy. I can't imagine. I've tried all sorts of things, and it's impossible for me to get to a better place with this. I can't imagine just having an identity that's secure, where I'm just secure in who I am. Struggle with it my whole life. I can't imagine that. Can't imagine having like a healthy, reunited relationship with this family member. It just seems impossible. Can't imagine this pain that I have in my life. Maybe it's a mental pain, maybe an emotional pain, or even physical. And you can't imagine getting beyond where you are, moving forward. And that is what I want to talk about today for just a few minutes, is how with God we can, when we're in our impossible scenario, how we can move forward. And I'm not talking about how we make God get us out of impossible situations. That's a little bit different. Because we don't make God do anything. There's no wand we wave at God. There's no like certain prayer we throw out there and then it happens, right? But I do want us to see how, with God, forward momentum, not being stuck where we are, is possible. And this is where we're going to pick up today. This whole month, Palmer started last week. He said we're in Isaiah for this series. This is our moment series. We're in Isaiah. We're looking at different things in Isaiah. Isaiah, I want to paint for you this impossible situation that Israel is in. Isaiah was a prophet around 740 BC. He shows up. He's a prophet. He goes to Israel. He's telling them, hey, everybody, listen up. You are in rebellion against God. You are worshiping false gods. You have idols. You're far from God. Turn and go back to him. If you don't turn and go back to God, like he is going to bring judgment on you, there is hope to come, but he's going to do that. So, turn around, go back to God. Stop living in rebellion and rejection of him. They don't really listen, okay? Decades, centuries later, God's a patient God. Centuries later, around 600, Judah surrenders to Babylon. Babylon is the big powerhouse at the time. They surrender to them. And then things cook along for a little while in that scenario, and then there's a little revolt there, and Babylon says, enough is enough. 587 BC, they come in and they destroy Jerusalem. They burn it to the ground. They go into the temple, okay, remember, at this time, the temple is the special place where God's presence is. This is where people go to meet with God, and God goes to meet with them. That's important. Babylon, they go into the temple, they take all the valuables, jewels out of it, they burn it to the ground. And thousands of Israelites, basically everybody, a few poor people with nothing can stay in Jerusalem, but basically everybody, off they go, deported into captivity into Babylon. That's the exile. That's what that is. That's what that means. Okay? Now, two things. When they're walking out of their city and they look back and they see their temple literally up in smoke, that says something else to them. That says that the Babylonian gods are more powerful than your God. That says that the Babylonian gods, they had many gods, says that their gods beat Yahweh. They win. Yahweh, the God of Israel, Yahweh, he loses. So your God is Dead, maybe, who knows? At the minimum, defeated. He's defeated. And something else, the second thing, something else. When they're going off into exile, not only is their God dead, but they know history. And here's what history said. This is just basic history that they knew. Many people had gone into exile before. They were not the first. Many nations conquered other nations, took everybody captive and took them to but there were zero recorded cases in history of anybody returning from exile and going back home. Never happened. Nobody did that. So you see the impossible situation that Israel finds themselves in this moment in time, in the exile, right? Nobody has ever left exile and returned back home, and we just watched the Babylonian gods defeat our God. We're done. This is it. We are not, there's no way out of this scenario. So, with that being said, flip over to Isaiah 40, and that's where we're going to pick things up in our story. Isaiah 40, by the way, before we read this, just stick with me here. This is super simple, but it's really important. Isaiah 40, the exile is wrapping up and ending, okay? They were in exile for about 50 to 60 years. In Isaiah 40, what you're going to hear is that's coming to a close and God is coming to rescue them. So Isaiah 40, verse 6, we'll start there. Verse 6, a voice says, cry out. And I said, what shall I cry? All people are like grass and all their faithfulness is like the flowers of the field. The grass withers and the flowers fall because the breath of the Lord blows on them. Surely the people are grass. The grass withers and the flowers fall, but the word of our God endures forever. So you who bring good news to Zion, go up high on a mountain. You who bring good news to Jerusalem, lift up your voice with a loud shout, lift it up. Don't be afraid, and say this to the towns of Judah in captivity. I'm adding that for you, right? In exile. Here is your God. See, the sovereign Lord comes. He is coming to your rescue. He comes with power, and he rules with a mighty arm. See, his reward is with him, and his recompense accompanies him. He tends his flock like a shepherd. He gathers the lambs in his arms, and he carries them close to his heart. He gently leads those that have young. Okay, how are they feeling? They're feeling, when they're in exile, they are feeling we are ignored and forgotten by God. Right? A little bit like how you feel when you're in your impossible situation and you're even crying out to God a little bit, you're reaching out to him and you're not hearing anything, nothing's happening. You're feeling a bit ignored. That's how they're feeling. And so this first thing, I'm just going to say a couple quick things here today is all. But the one thing that I want us to see and to hear is that God is saying to them, and he's saying to you today, that God has not forgotten you. God has not forgotten you. Look at verse 27. We see how the people say this. And it says, why do you complain, Jacob? Why do you say, Israel, that my way is hidden from the Lord, that my cause is disregarded by my God? God's saying, I have not forgotten you. Have you felt forgotten or ignored by God? Do you feel that way? Maybe right now, maybe in the very chair, this moment, you feel very ignored by God, very forgotten by God, very left to your own by God. Flip over a few pages in chapter 49. God says, I remember you. I cannot forget you, and here's why. Look at this. Chapter 49, verse 14, we kind of see the same thing again. But Zion said that the Lord has forsaken me, that the Lord has forgotten me. God, you've forgotten me. And God's response to this is, can a mother forget the baby at her breast and have no compassion on the child that she has born? Though she may forget, I will not forget you. See, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands. Your walls are ever before me. I love this. God says, you are not forgotten, Israel. You are not forgotten today. You are not forgotten. I can't forget you because I have engraved you. I've marked you on the palms of my hands. Some translations say, I've written your name on the palms of my hands. God's tattooed you on him. Now, obviously, I have some tattoos, right? It says, if I stretch out my arms, it says, love wins. Think about it long enough. A guy did that a long time ago. I got this thing going on. Let me tell you a place like I'm not interested in getting a tattoo, okay? Face, kind of not, just me personally, my neck, and my hands, okay? I'm not looking at doing tattoos, but, once again, hey, God's better than me. No surprise there. He goes off, does tattoos on his hands. And I'm thinking, why hands? Like, why, God? Why do you say you've engraved us? You've written our names on your hands. And I just reread the context there, right? Well, what is this mother we just read? He's like, well, this what does a mother do with her newborn baby with the palms of her hand? She holds this baby. She protects and caresses and loves and supports this baby. Or like earlier, like a shepherd, I gather the sheep, I bring them in close to me, I protect them. I have not forgotten you. We had a moment like this in our lives where God did this for us. It was pretty cool. So my family, we came here to the Grove 11 years ago. Okay, some of you may have been around then. And at that time when we came here, we had our 3 oldest kids and we had 2 girls that we were doing foster care for. These 2 girls, when they came into our house, they were 1 year old and 3 days old. Okay, straight from the hospital came to us. We did foster care for them for 2 years. So, obviously we loved them. It was awesome. It was hard. It was challenging. It was beautiful. It was all that. And it looked like the case was kind of going to severance and adoption. And we said, we would love to adopt them. We'd be happy to do that. Please. Right as that was about to happen, they happened to be Native American girls, and the tribe did not want them to be adopted and leave and go outside the tribe. So they moved them into a different foster home from ours. Obviously, it was hard. It's heartbreaking. And when that happens, it happens pretty abruptly. It's just that decision's made. A week or so later, they come, they pick them up, they go. There's no contact. There's no follow up. You don't hear anything again, see anything again. It's just that's that, and you move on. So over time, we work through that. We continue to do foster care. We end up adopting 3 kids, and all that's happening, and then fast forward now 6 years after that. My wife, one night, she gets this message, like a Facebook message from this lady, like, hey, this is kind of weird. I don't know you, and I just, did you happen to do foster care for a couple of girls like years and years ago? And she said a little bit more than that. And anyway, she's like, yeah, I did. And she goes, oh, well, I'm their adoptive mom. I adopted them. And I found you because we kind of randomly got this life book that you made for them. So a life book, it's like a scrapbook, right? A bunch of pictures and little sayings that you do, and then it's so the memories but in there, just to protect everyone, you're supposed to keep them very vague, first names only, and that's it. And my wife, when she made the book, she made an accident. She made a mistake. And on one of the pictures, she put Grandma and Grandpa Swanson, right? So now this lady, this adopted mom, takes that last name that wasn't even supposed to be in there, and she takes that and she has our pictures, and she just starts going into like PI investigative mode, and tracks us down and reaches out, and we're like, yeah, that, and says, well, would you like to, just see how they're doing? We're like, oh my gosh. So we say yes. We meet them at a park, and they were too little. They don't remember us. Obviously, we remember them. It was beautiful and hard, but it was so good to see like how they're doing, to see that they're okay, because all these questions that were just weighing on us and just, yes, you move on from it, but then bits and pieces you don't. And there's this little part in that scenario, right? There's this little part of like, God, it's like you kind of didn't, I don't know. I mean, it's like you didn't show up as much as I would have wanted you to in this scenario, and kind of feel like we're just kind of lost in limbo with this thing. And that whole incident and us seeing them and seeing that they're okay and adopted in a family and all of that was a way that God was saying to us, I have not forgotten you. There are times when you feel, and I feel, ignored by God. There are times when you feel lost and alone, when you feel forgotten by God or abandoned by him. And I just want you to hear clearly today that God is saying to you, I have not forgotten you. I can't forget you, because as it turns out, I'm a God that's actually into hand tattoos. So there you go. There you go. And some of you guys, you're like, sweet babe, did you hear that? Going to get me a tattoo this week. She's gonna be like, yeah, but in Leviticus it says, don't put any tattoos on your body. So how does that make any sense? And you're gonna say, what's Leviticus mean? I don't know that word. Babe, come back and don't use words I don't understand. Me no understand. Okay. You're going to lose you're going to lose that one. That's all I'm getting at. Okay. Go back to Isaiah 40. Isaiah 40 verse 21. Because there's one other just this, big piece I kind of just want us to see in this. God's coming to Israel. He's coming to rescue them out of exile. They feel forgotten by God. He's making it clear to them, I have not forgotten you. And then there's something else he does though, which is he needs to let them know that he is able to free them, right? That he hasn't died in the temple when it went up in smoke, and that even though in history no one's gone back home from exile, that things are going to be different here. Verse 21, do you not know? Have you not heard? Has it not been told to you from the beginning? Have you not understood since the earth was founded that he, God, sits enthroned above the circle of the earth? And its people, they're like grasshoppers to him. He stretches out the heavens like a canopy, and he spreads them out like a tent to live in. He brings princesses to naught. He reduces the rulers of this world, to nothing. No sooner are they planted, no sooner are they sown, no sooner do they take root in the ground that he blows on them, and they wither, and a whirlwind sweeps them away like chaff. To whom will you compare me? Or who is my equal, says the Holy One. Lift up your eyes, look to the heavens, who created all these. He who brings out the starry hosts one by one and calls forth each of them by name. Because of his great power and mighty strength, not one of them is missing. God just creates this scene, this picture where he's like, guys, listen, I am coming to your rescue and I can do this. This is not the end for you. With God, progress is always possible. That's what God is reminding them, what he's telling them. With me, progress is always possible. Who will you compare me? Who is my equal? What is like me? I'm not like you. I am separate from the world, from the creation. I am other than. I sit above the earth, right? I'm not restricted by the limitations that you have here, that we have, the laws that govern this world that we're in. God's like, I'm separate from all of that. I can move in any way that I wish, and I can come do in your life anything I want. With me, progress is always possible. That marriage that you can't imagine moving forward, it's possible. Those finances, it's possible. That being freed from that addiction, it's possible. Progress is always possible. You've struggled with your identity your whole life. It is possible that you could make progress in that area. This pain that eats at you, that just seems to never go away. It is possible. That family reunited relationship, that thing becoming more healthy with that person. It's possible. This character flaw in you, greed, anger, lust, whatever, it's possible for you to move forward in that situation. Progress with God is always possible. It reminds me, the Bible says it in more than one place, but I think of the time when Mary is visited by the angel, right? The angel comes and says, Mary, the Savior of the world is going to come from you. And she's like, I'm 14 years old, I'm 15 years old, I'm a virgin. How is this possible? And the angel says, oh, God is going to do this thing in you. And Mary, with God, all things are possible. That's what she's told. All things are possible with God. That's how this is going to happen. We don't have the strength in ourselves to do it, but with God, all things are possible. It's why we see Jesus, who was fully like us, right? So he grew and he slept and he got hungry, and when you cut him, he bleeds and he laughs and he cries and his heart's broken when he's betrayed by friends. But then you also see him do these things that are impossible, right? Because that's what God does. So he walks on water. He tells a storm at sea to be calm. He feeds thousands of people with like a little kid's lunch. He tells Lazarus, who's dead in a tomb for days, rise and come out. Like all these things. How are those things? Because with God, all things are possible. And so Isaiah concludes with this simple message for us, that he gives strength. This is verse 29. He gives strength to the weary. That's good news, right? Because some of you are pretty worn out. And he increases the power of the weak. Even youths, right? Youth, strong, young, go on forever. Even they grow tired and they grow weary. And young men who are the ones on their A game the most, yep, they stumble and they fall. But those who hope in the Lord, they will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. God says it is progress, real change in your life. That's what this progress means, right? Real change in your life, real transformation. It is possible. And you may have no strength to go on, right? You've had the addiction you're going on like decade 5 of it. You don't even have the willpower. That's okay. When we hope in God, Isaiah says, it's his strength and it's his power that allows us to walk again, right? That allows us to maybe run again, that allows us to soar again. Real change, progress is possible. And if you're like, I can't imagine it still, that's okay. Sometimes, right? It's only when we're at the end of our rope that we begin to grab onto God's. It's possible. Put your hope, put your trust in him, and allow him to do something in your life where you begin to walk again, walk forward. Do something where you begin to run again, where you begin to soar, right? In whatever area you find yourself in. I hope that this encourages you. I hope that you hear that God doesn't say change first and then I'll love you more, right? God says to you today what he has always said to us. I love you right where you are. Come follow me as you are. And then let the progress, let the change begin. Then it happens. I hope that this all encourages you today. I hope that encourages you. But I also do want to give you a challenge. I want to challenge you because we've got some things happening here. The series is called This Is Our Moment. And we've got some things happening, Nate talked about them earlier, that are happening like this week and next week that's your moment to step into environments where you can, with other people, put your hope, your trust in God, and together allow God to bring that progress in change in your life where you begin to move forward. So I'm wearing it, right? It's rooted life groups. I mean, well, you thought I just wanted an excuse to wear a t-shirt. No faith in me at all. No, but it is comfortable. Rooted, it's a small group environment. These start next week. This is a space where with other people, you're pursuing God. You're just putting your trust in Him and saying, God, okay, let's start to walk again. Maybe we'll even, do a little running or soaring, who knows? But I want progress, I want change, and I believe with you it's possible. So this is your moment to step in, to sign up and step into that environment. There's a table out there, go stop by there. Our women's ministry that kicks off this week, again, great people, great study, a way to say together, we're putting our trust in God and let's see how we can move forward. Our men's ministry, it's called Win the Day. It's literally about how can we start to win the day and move forward from where we are currently stuck and not moving and feeling impossible. So I just want to challenge you, if you're not in one of those environments or in our counseling, we've got Celebrate Recovery, Grief Share, designed to help you move forward. It is possible. Progress with God is possible. And I just want to encourage you, be a part of one of those environments. Don't miss out on it. It is your moment to get involved in one of those. Well, would you stand with us? We're going to close out and worship together.